Om Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Sri Matre Namaha. We are continuing with the experiences of Devata and gods. We have understood that everybody is a seeker. Knowingly or unknowingly, everyone is seeking. Most people are seeking on the outside, and some have begun to seek within themselves. And what is this seeking all about? It is wanting to know who you are, what is this creation, and what is your role in this creation, and who is the creator, and whether you can get to know and experience your creator and the creation. So this is in essence a self-exploration. You're exploring, you're researching within yourself and trying to find the answers. And that is why when you have come up with the answers, then we say it is self-realization, self-revelation, God-realization, Advaita, the non-duality, and the Brahman. So all of these seem to be so many words, but in essence, the whole searching is, and the whole journey is going from the multiplicity to the oneness. Because we understood already that everything started with this oneness, this one Adi Shakti, who was supported by Shiva or Purusha. Here we understood that Purusha or Shiva is the absolute consciousness, and Shakti in her manifest form is the relative or Prakriti. So in essence, we have come from that unity and became the multiplicity. And now we want to know how we can know this unity or oneness from this multiplicity. Now, if you're taking the individual, then you know that you have the duality. There is I and you and me, day and night, hot and cold. So this duality is there in all realms of life. And now we also know that beyond this duality is only oneness. So we want to know how to get to that oneness from this duality and to have union with the Creator and not have the separation and not feel the separation. Now, this quest is the same for everyone. It doesn't matter which country you belong, which religion you belong. Everyone wants to know who this one God is. Here we want to say God is oneness. He is the unity, manifesting in different forms in order to fulfill the needs of this creation, and further the sustenance and the dissolution, the evolution and the liberation. And ultimately, the whole goal is to establish that there is one God in this oneness, and it doesn't matter what religion, what country or what race, ultimately it all goes to that oneness or that one God we call Paramatma, the transcendental eternal consciousness. Here the word para is transcendental, and we know that the trinity of the gods, the Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara, all have this para in them. And so is it with the Devi also. She is known as the Parashakti. Shiva is known as the Paramashiva. Brahma is referred to as Parabrahma. Vishnu is referred to as Parandhama. So, which is indicating that ultimately they are this para alone, this transcendental eternal consciousness alone. So here the most important thing for everyone to understand is, if one transcends and explores these truths, then finally one comes to the same conclusion, that it is one God for everyone, for all. For all of the creation, in every part of the world, in every religion, it is the same one God. Now let us take this a step forward and find out who this God is. So here in reality we have two fields which are eternal, which are full, and which are almighty. So the first is the absolute being, or this field of absolute pure consciousness, which we call Purusha, or you can say Shiva, which is infinite, all-pervading, omnipresent, and almighty. Then we have the field of Prakriti, which we call it the relative field, which is ever-changing and also eternal and also omnipresent, but it is ever-changing. And this Prakriti is also almighty. That's why we say almighty nature, or we say Mahashakti, and we say Ananta Shakti. So again, we have the absolute field, which is almighty and eternal and non-changing, and we have the Prakriti, which is also eternal, almighty, and but forever changing. And so these two fields are completely opposed to each other. And we also know that this Prakriti is embedded in the absolute Purusha or Shiva, and yet it has its own rhythm, and the creation goes on independently, but not completely independently, because Prakriti is still dependent on the Purusha for the absolute pure consciousness, which is the basis and the source of everything that is on the relative level. Now here is the role of God. We have these two fields completely opposed to each other and are eternal. So God comes here to connect these two opposite fields to eternity and give validity to the eternity of the ever-changing relative life of the universe and the eternity of the never-changing absolute being. This Paramatma, this God, then balances between the two opposed characteristics of the relative and absolute. This then is referred to as Almighty God, and we say this is Paramatma. So this Paramatma presides over the eternity of the relative and the absolute. So in essence, he manages the eternity of the absolute being and at the same time taking care of the eternity of the relative. Here it is important to understand that the day and night, the seasons, the dreaming, sleeping, waking states of consciousness, the ever-changing phenomena is continuous and is eternal. Further, here it's important to understand that Devi, as the creator, is in the subtlest field of creation and will be almighty for the entire creation, because her status is in the subtlest field of life, and so she is almighty. But the almighty is in the relative field. So that's why we say she is the almighty nature, or Ananta Shakti, or Mahashakti, or Ananta Prakriti Swarupini. Now, this absolute being is also almighty, whom we call Shiva or Purusha, and in the sense is the basis of the entire creation. As the basis of the entire creation, as the nourishment, because the basis of creation has to be nourishment. And so this unmanifested being is also almighty. But again, this is almighty in the absolute status. So here the Almighty God is presiding over this relative and over this absolute. Here an example is given that when we say all-powerful government, it has to be represented by someone. Then this government is represented by Parliament, and again it is represented by a president. So here Parliament is one government, President is one government. But here there is another power which even goes higher than the President, and that higher power would be that which presides over this relative and this absolute, and this is also referred to as overlord of creation, or the Godhead of everything. Just like when something goes wrong with the president, then something else on the top is created, a commission or whatever, in order to take care of the problems with the president and the Parliament. And so this Almighty God is something much more than this Parliament and the President, and can control or govern both as needed. But here we understand that the role of Almighty God is to make sure that both are connected, the absolute and the relative, the two almighties, the two eternities, and continue with their eternity in harmony. Then we have the avatars, or the incarnations. Now they don't belong to the field of the celestial life or the relative field. They can't belong to the absolute. So these avatars who come actually to re-establish the dharma belong to that field or to that authority which overrules, which is called the Godhead, or we refer to as Paramatma. So then these incarnations are the expressions of this Almighty God. So these avatars come, they establish law and order, establish the path of righteousness, teach the techniques of meditation and others, and they give a direct way to liberation. And this has been going on since time immemorial. Now we have understood the structure of the Purusha and the Prakriti and the Paramatma who presides over both. And this is the finality, the Paramatma, the one God who should be known by every religion and by every human being. Now, let us take a step back again and see that you are a seeker and you want to know who you are, who the Creator is, who this Devi is, and what is all our creation about. So here it is important to understand that the first step to God realization is self-realization. And by the time one realizes the self, one realizes the relationship of the outer world with the inner self. And here what is the exploration? The exploration is you're going from the known to the unknown. We want to know the whole of nature. Then wisdom demands that we must know, first of all, what we are. If we don't know who we are, how are we going to find out all of this creation and the Creator? So self-realization is the first step to any knowledge whatsoever, leave alone the knowledge of God. So in this process of self-realization, then one realizes that one is unbounded, eternal, absolute, non-changing, being, bliss consciousness, I am that. And then the realization dawns that one's inner nature or the Prakriti is oneself alone, and this being is eternal, and it is the bliss consciousness. And in comparison to this, the entire world is changing. Everything is changing within you and also everything around you and all that you can see and know. Then the realization dawns that one is bound in time and space, but there is something which is beyond time and space, and that it is the being, and you are that. So you are someone who is beyond time and space, and it is of transcendental nature. And here, this field lies in the field of eternity of time. And the realization dawns that in the relative life, everything, time, space, is bound to time. Everything is bound to time and space and causation. And in reality, that you are timeless, you are spaceless, and you are unbounded eternity. And this self-realization is truly earth-shattering when you realize that you are not a limited person, you are not really bound, and you are unbounded, and you are not this misery and suffering, but you are truly the bliss. You are not this ever-changing phenomena, but you are the non-changing eternal self. Now all of this you have been referring to Devi, that she is this and like this and like this. Now the realization comes to you that you are made in the image of Devi or the Prakriti, which is Shiva and Shakti. I will end here with this talk, but before that I just want to bring clarification to a few words here, which we are trying to understand that there are no correct translations in English whatsoever or equivalent words. One such word is we are constantly using is Shakti, and it is commonly described as energy. Adi Shakti is referred to as primordial energy or power. Normally, energy denotes an insentient physical force or capacity to perform activities. It can be controlled by mechanical means. And here the Sanskrit word Shakti does not signify an inanimate, insentient principle as the word energy. Shakti is the divine form and the feminine aspect. It is divine feminine aspect which is Shakti. In essence, Shakti is the ability to do anything, the capability to have this creativity and creative intelligence. And Shakti possesses the attributes of omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence. She has a personality, and as creative intelligence, she is the Icha Shakti, Kriya Shakti, and the Jnana Shakti. And here Shakti is also shown as the personification of Bhagavan. So in essence, the word goddess for Shakti is also not correct. And describing her as energy just limits her to the material concept of energy and removes this divine feminine personification of such great intelligence, power, and ability, and having the attributes of this omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence. We will continue. For now, I will end here. Jai Gurudev, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu.
सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित्